What have you noticed over the years of working in this field that how digital has changed and how it's changed families?
They get so upset or so angry when I try to take away the screen. You need to be able to do things with your hands. You need to be able to do things off of technology for your brain to grow in those regions. It's what you hear on the regular that pathway gets used, and so that's the one that sticks.
Talk a little bit more about how technology affects how long people can focus.
Like, we thought movie night was fun and like a big special treat. And my older kids were like, yay, movie night. And she's like, I don't want to watch a whole movie.
Welcome to Rethink Time, the podcast brought to you by Time Timer. We'll explore how we teach, support, and experience time in the classroom, in therapy spaces, and in everyday life. Time is something that everybody has to navigate, whether you're a teacher or you're a parent or you're just somebody that struggles managing time yourself. We're going to be interviewing experts in the fields of education and neurodiversity to share real life strategies that you can use every day. And that way, time feels more understood to everyone in your life. Today, we are talking to Kerry Brown from Beech Acres Parenting Center, and we're going to talk a little bit about like going analog and just in general how the digital world has affected families.
Yeah.
So can we just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I currently am curriculum and content program manager for parenting at Beech Acres Parenting Center. Prior to that, I was a parenting specialist, which I still do, parent coaching with families and parents. And then prior to that, I was a child life specialist. So I worked in the hospital, helping kids cope with being in the hospital. So I've worked and studied kids and families for a long time.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Beech Acres Parenting Center does? Just for reference, our audience is outside of just this region as well. And I know you guys do national work, but I know there's probably more people familiar with Beech Acres here in the Cincinnati area. But for those who are not familiar with it or outside of that area, tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so we have been around for a long time. Now I think we're on 177 years.
Oh my gosh.
I always like to tell people we do stay current in our research and information. But initially they started as an orphanage, and then it evolved into, now we have foster care. But they evolved into the Beech Acres Parenting Center that we have now, so that we're supporting families in all aspects. So we do still have the foster care. We have kinship care programs, but we also have school-based programs as well, which are a social emotional learning program in schools for teachers. And we also have school-based therapy. And then my program, which is called Parent Connects, which is working with families, any type of family. We started in 2016 in pediatric offices because that's where parents tend to go when they have a parenting challenge. And pediatricians don't have time to answer to kind of dig into that, and or like their training's more in development based on medical stuff. So we found that to be extremely helpful, and that parents feel very overwhelmed with information. And so now the only gift of COVID really was that we were able to meet with parents virtually now. So we do parent coaching, and we have practices in Texas, all over, so that we can meet with parents, do one-on-one coaching, and help them feel more empowered in their parenting journey.
So how do people get connected with Beech Acres? Like, how do parents get connected with your services?
Yeah, so we have the pediatricians still give us referrals, but we also have community, because we also do parent workshops, and we have now a parent community app, and then we have podcast as well, which hopefully you can join us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have the ability for people in the community or anywhere. They can go to our website and go under parenting support, and then connect and get called back and get scheduled in. So, and we have a sliding scale fee too. So we make it affordable for families. So we don't want to turn anyone away, because again, we know how stressful parenting is.
Right. Well, and I love that you guys just come at it from like every angle. Like, you're hitting them at the schools, the pediatrician's office, at home. Like, you guys really, parenting's not done in isolation. And
no, but it feels like it, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely feels like it.
Yeah. It used to be the village, and I'm like, do they just show up one day?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get your village?
Yeah. I'm wondering where the support system is, because I can't find it.
Right.
So.
And if you don't have family in town, like I didn't have when my kids were younger, it's hard.
And that's very similar. Like, we have very limited family in town. So it's like, I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1-year-old myself. So we're like right in the throes of it.
You're in the trenches, man.
Yeah. So we might use this podcast more as a therapy session for me
Yeah,
than it is for their audience.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
Thank you. But let's dive into like the digital landscape. So what have you noticed over the years of working in this field, that how digital has changed and how it's changed families?
Yeah. So I'll do a call out about myself that's negative. In the 90s, I remember I was working with a family and I didn't have kids at the time. I'm just going to throw that out there. But also it was a different, obviously, digital landscape. So there was a kid that got in trouble with what he was looking at on his school computer. And so I very confidently said, as a parent, you just need to stay one step ahead of your kid in technology. That's how you handle this. And now I'd go back and probably slap that person because I'm like, that's impossible standard to hold up, right? Like there's no way to stay. And then even with myself, like I have 3 kids that are 22, 19, and 13. And the difference between parenting the older 2 and my 13-year-old with technology is completely different. Now I say it's like a full-time job trying to keep your kids off screens and find that balance. It feels overwhelming.
I think that's one of my biggest fears, having kids as young as they are right now, is what am I going to encounter when it comes to technology?
Yes, because when my 22-year-old was your kids' ages, I didn't imagine an iPhone. Like I had a flip phone back then, not because I was staying retro, but because that's what it was.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what you had.
Yeah. But the one thing I am seeing is the trend, and back to the 90s again, like remember learning in my parent education class in grad school that the parenting pendulum goes on a pendulum. So you have each generation comes in after and overcorrects. So you have the like never touch your baby because you'll spoil them, to never put him down, or like you have no feelings, to
feel all the feels.
Feel. Yeah. That's what my kids talk about, that I overcorrected in the feelings realm. But I was like, my parents are like, you don't have feelings.
Right.
I left them. They're great. But so that's where I think in technology, I'm starting to see that shift back to trying to not let technology run the family. Okay. But it's hard.
Okay. Speak a little bit more about that. Like so you're saying you're seeing it not run the family now. So how are parents
No, I think
doing
they're
it?
trying
Oh, they're trying.
Yeah, I feel like it's shifting back to, wait a second.
We need to correct.
Yes.
Course correct.
Yes, exactly. We're not there yet, but I see the tide shifting.
So what are the effects of the technology have you seen with, like when you're talking to families, what effects have you seen on the families and on the kids?
And
since it's been a bigger thing.
Right. So most of it is I don't know how to get my kids off screens, or I don't know how to balance it, manage it all. I mean, and usually I always say parents are coming to me when it's at like a point where they need support. So like I do, I help with potty training, but I'm not going to help a parent through typical potty training. It's more like the extreme. So same thing with the technology.
Okay.
But even if I'm working with the family on something else, like emotional regulation, it comes up of like, they get so upset or so angry when I try to take away the screen.
Right.
And so again, going back to that balance piece of like, I try to help parents be intentional. So we use something called natural strength parenting. So it's helping parents be intentional, strength-based, and mindful. But the intentionality piece is understanding, how does technology play a role in your family? Like, what are your values around it?
Right.
Because every family is very different. Like you might have the family that's like, oh, we're absolutely no screens, no phone until a certain age. And other families that need it for whatever reason, like safety.
So you've heard of the trend of like going analog in parenting.
Yes.
So have you seen any of that in the families that you work with or in the community at all?
Yeah. So I think that's the shift I'm starting to see. Like the phones that are kind of like old landlines.
Yeah.
Like that you.
Yeah. I read about the pod in Maine where all the parents just got together and said, we're going to have analog phones or the landline phones.
Yeah. And I even saw it on our community, like parent page. They were asking like for the younger kids, like, does anybody want to get these?
The phones that are on a cord?
Yeah. Landlines. Yeah. Yeah. My kids never wanted to hear that my phone was attached to the wall and you're complaining that you don't have the most current iPhone.
And you get like the longest possible cord so you could go as far away from your parents as you could.
Exactly.
So is that helping? Like, is that really helping as a
So
parent?
I wish I had like the data on that, but I think it is a way to meet the needs of the families who want their kids to still be connected and feel included, right? Because if you ask, like when I ask my kids, why do you want a device? Why, get that curiosity piece of like trying to be mindful of this is important to them too, and they have a perspective. But it was mostly about not feeling left out, communicating with their friends. So I think it's a great way to provide that for your child and start to build their skills to when they are at a more appropriate age to have a device.
So you bring up another good point about the social aspect of technology and kids growing up and families growing up. I mean, because you can't really run your family without technology in this day and age. It's almost necessary. So there's like the needed factor of it, of just managing the family threshold and responsibility that comes with that. And then there's also the social aspect of it for the kids. But that social aspect is part that could be really cool and really scary, right? So they want to feel like they belong, but then you hear these horror stories of cyberbullying and everything else.
Yes.
Like, what age does that typically start to like really become an issue for parents? When do you really, really need to start thinking about that?
So I mean, all of it is being aware and mindful along the way. But if you understand, again, going back to your like what you value, what's important to you. So for me, like you said, that connection piece. So I was like, well, my kids are not going to get a phone till high school.
Right.
And then my older two, well, all of them, I guess, walked to and from middle school. And I would get a phone call from the school office from my son saying, can I go to John's house? Thanks, bye. It was a voicemail. And I'm like, where did you go? Like, I can't call you back. And John's mom's like, he's not here. I don't know where they are.
Oh, great.
So for safety reasons, I changed my mind on when they got a device. And back then it was easier to do a dumb flip phone for him. But then like same thing with that, like in parenting, just think in terms of, instead of focusing on your fears, like the fear is they're going to get cyberbullied. They're going to get, somebody's going to try to kidnap them off, all of those things are real and normal. I mean, if you lose your kid in the grocery store for 5 seconds, you're like, someone's kidnapped them. They're gone forever. And then we don't usually respond very well during that situation, right? Because you're in like panic freak out mode, right? And your kid's like, I was just in the candy aisle. Why are you freaking out? And you're like, because I had you in the white van. And I was never going to see you again. So instead you go back to, what are my goals? So like I knew a friend that was like, my kids are never going to do sleepaway camp because it's high risk for getting molested. I worked at a camp forever. So I was like, I really want my kids to go to sleepaway camp. So instead I worked on building up the skills and empowering them. So same thing with technology. You want to build up the skills to help them stay safe.
Right.
And that's like with constant, like intentional conversations around what that looks like.
Okay.
So this shows parenting in a nutshell of my son in grade school. He did a presentation in his gifted class on internet safety. And he was like, you never know who's on the other side of the screen. And it was back when Manti Te'o got catfished. And I was like, so proud. Like, he's got this. I'm such a great mom. Look at me. I taught him so well. And then like a month later, I see him on Minecraft and I'm like, are you talking to people? And he said, yeah. And I go, do you know them? And he goes, no, but they're really nice. And I said, how do you know they're nice? And he said, they said please and thank you. Oh, great. Please, can I have your address? Thank you.
Right.
And I was like, wah, wah. Like, I went from like feeling so empathic, like, oh yeah, he's got this too. Okay, you don't really have this.
So it's like, it's a constant reminder and a constant.
And just talking about, because we always talk about stranger danger with kids, but I talk to strangers at the grocery store, all the time. Right. So I talk about people who are trying to trick you.
That's a good way to phrase it. Like,
yeah, they're tricking you. They're trying to trick you. And if anybody's asking you how old you are, asking any information, any private information, because I would like to say that it's completely locked down in our house. And of course, that's not going to happen. But the research shows that a good relationship and with your children is the key of keeping them safe.
Right.
And having those conversations. And so, I mean, I even talked about like, sexting when they were young. And they're like, ooh, gross. Why would anyone ever do that? And I'm like, just in case that ever happens and someone sends you a picture, you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Come to us.
Right.
Like, don't try to solve this on your own.
Just keep the conversation open.
Yes. And that connection piece is huge. Like if you have a connection with your child, it's going to make the difference of letting them be able to come to you when they screw up.
Right. So this is going to be a very selfish question here, but as a parent of a 3.5-year-old, where does that conversation start?
Conversation, you can even start with like, at that point, you're going to start talking about, because what conversation? Like,
just in general, like when do you start introducing like safety around technology? Like he's not on computers, so that's not an issue. Right now, our technology in our households revolved around just screen time. Like that's basically, and every once in a while, he'll try to steal the phone or FaceTime. We do FaceTime family. So that's kind of probably the most like communicative part of it. So right now it's like, it's very isolated, but I just have it in the back of my head. Like it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have no idea what I'm going to do when it comes.
So that is where identifying for your family, like what's most important to you, because you're going to have so many times in parenting where your kid's going to say, can I blank? Can I get a phone? Can I play this game? Can I get this app? Can I watch the show? And again, old me before I had kids was like, I'm just going to watch all the shows and movies before they do. And I'm going to read all the books before they do. It did not happen, if you're wondering.
No, I mean, I'm already falling behind on that task.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
my head was in the same space.
Right,
but I was definitely
like,
falling behind on it.
I kind of did it a little bit with my oldest, where we like read Hunger Games together when he was older, and then we watched the movies. And then by the third, I'm like, she like breezed through like Harry Potter in like the second grade, like every book. And I was like, no, wait, we were doing it 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
Like, so it changes as you're parenting. As they get older. But going back to what are your values? So like if safety is a value, like we had like kindness was a value for me and us, like I had honest on my list, but my son was very honest as a strength, but not kind. So I changed it to trustworthy,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that can.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just being honest. And I'm like, okay, let's change that to kind. And now at 22, I keep hearing how kind he is. So it worked, but
Okay.
yeah.
Gives us hope.
Yeah, exactly. But the stepping back of, okay, so in those moments when things come up and whatever new technology is out there, you can lean on those values, things that you find important. Again, like how I shifted mine to, okay, you can get a device for safety reasons. And so starting with that, like for me, it was about respect and kindness. And so at 3.5, honestly, like some of my fears initially were like, okay, are they going to get, kidnapped or all of that. So then I started talking about safety and body safety. And I would talk about, are you in charge at home? And they're supposed to say no. And my third would say yes. She's got high leadership on her strengths list.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I had a teacher say she's going to be the CEO of something. I'm like, I know, she's trying my house.
She's the CEO of my house right now.
Yes. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But also she's amazing.
Right.
And then the like understanding, like at that point in time when you're talking about body safety, you're in charge of school, no, but you are in charge of your body. And it's never okay for anyone to talk to you about or touch you in your private parts unless they're helping you to be clean or healthy.
Right.
And if that ever happens, it's not your fault. It's just you need to come tell me. And then we taught them ask first. And I don't keep secrets and I'm going to tell. Like those are little planted seeds you can start now. You can start talking about consent with your son. So that way, because I didn't want my son to ever ask or share a naked, share a naked picture. I did a workshop on digital balance and a mom said, I told my sons, if you ever send a picture of your penis, it likely will get sent back to me. So if you don't want me to see a picture of it, don't send it. And I was like, well, that is one way to do it.
Yeah.
It's one way to but
scare them into it.
Yeah. But so where you are, it's not necessarily, I'm talking about internet safety, but I'm going to talk to you about empowering you with body safety.
Right.
And then you build on that from there. And as they start to get older, you can talk about sometimes people send naked pictures of themselves.
Right. Like we know how we FaceTime grandma. Well, sometimes people try to FaceTime you about other things and you don't want to talk to them. Right. Like,
yeah,
you got to use it responsibly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Responsible is a great word. And accountability was also like important for us. So like understanding, like I didn't want them to, we don't want our kids to be bullied, but I also don't want them to be the bully.
Right.
And so how do we take accountability for that, for our actions and how we come across? And then, building that relationship and connection with him. So when something does happen, he can come to you.
So how does to kind of bring it back to, you said you did a workshop on digital imbalance. So talk to me a little bit about what you teach in that workshop. What's the angle you take?
We talk a lot about going back to the analog, kids are on screens. Nobody's surprised by that. It's not impacting their mental health well. I don't want to be the scaremongering, but it's more of what are they not doing when they're on technology? And what is technology taking away from the childhood experience, child development experience? So a lot of it is that free playtime. And kids don't know how to be bored. Not that they were ever skilled at it really well ever, but I would always say out of boredom comes creativity.
Right.
And my kids hated that, but they got it because it's, had somebody else said only boring people get bored, but it's teaching them how to sit in that discomfort and not immediately find something to a device to fix it.
So how is that affecting their learning? You talked a little bit before the podcast about how it actually affects the way their brain is working. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So they used to say that 0 to 5 is pinnacle brain growth, right? But then when they get into the teenage years, there's a new brain growth going on. And it's why what we learn at that age stays with us the longest in our life.
Oh,
it's why I know my next door neighbor's phone number from the 80s, but I don't know my passwords. So
that's impressive. Nobody knows phone numbers anymore. So that was from the 80s.
Right. Exactly. I know my older two. They don't have, it's hard. And so I made those numbers my passwords. Right. So, but there's a lot going on, and that's also where addictions and things can start, but also how they're learning to learn.
Right.
How their brain is getting primed to take in information and media. And so, and I don't know where this study came from, but I know there's been research out there. Well, there's even been research about COVID and how kids today are about 2 years behind their peers pre-COVID. I know that study came out of Harvard, but that was, it's just, there's a lot that's been impacted, but now they're recognizing as well technology, because technology saved us during COVID.
Right.
Right. I don't know how my kids would have done school without it.
Exactly.
But on the flip side, they're noticing that when technology was entered the classroom on a, I think, more regular basis, because I do know in the 90s, they had the computer lab,
right.
Things are evolving, but now every kid has their own device. And they're showing that they're actually what they're learning is decreasing versus going up we want to see.
Which is so hard, I think, to grasp. Because there is so much you can learn from technology. We have so much information at our fingertips. So how do we make it into something that is valuable? And do you have any insights on what people can do with technology that has worked? Or is it just a matter of being limited or having the balance? How do you find that balance?
I know, right? I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, with my 13-year-old too, okay, mine is constant conversation so that I now notice she'll stop, and that, because I can't always be monitoring her.
Right.
Working full time, there's not always somebody home, or I'll be in a meeting. I just remember it was a few years ago, I came out of a meeting and her and her friend were both on their iPads. And I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, we're playing chess. I'm like, we have a chessboard. But they just
is that a thing? A chessboard?
Right. Which they had done. But they're like, they were so used to playing chess on their devices that they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I'm like, can they get out a real chessboard?
Right.
But now I catch herself and I see her stop, and then she'll go outside and shoot baskets or something. My goal is to teach them versus being the person. But part of it is constant conversations around, here's my concern about your intake of technology. One time I said, why do you think I have a screen limit? And she's like, so our brains don't fry. I'm like, well, I never said those words, but.
You're not wrong.
Right. Exactly. So with your kids' ages, I would say there's no need at this point, except for again, if you need a break as a parent, it's okay.
Yeah.
But if it's overtaking your life and your kids are having constant meltdowns when you're taking it away, Like I didn't experience the smartphone parenting until my third. And I remember one time being like, oh, okay, like this is keeping her happy. We get in the car, somebody's calling me and she wouldn't give it to me. And I was like, that was like a wake up call for me.
Right.
Because in parenting, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And I was like, that's my phone. This isn't a toy. Like this is not something that she should be playing with. So from then on out, I made the boundary of, nope, this is mommy's phone. It's not a choice. It's off limits. Here, you can have this instead. And I'd give her not a phone, but something else that she could play with. Sorry, I went way off on that one. But like going back to like being mindful of like the balance is understanding what's important to you. So if it's being outdoors, if it's physical activity, if it's family board game nights, like what is not happening because you're on technology, and then prioritize those analog or those things that are important to you. So
tangible.
So creating that culture, because initially your kids are going to protest. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
Because parents will say, well, if I do that, then they're not going to be happy.
Right.
And I've told parents this and they're like, what? I'm like, your job isn't to make your kid happy. They're like, it's not? I'm like, no. And my two daughters, for some reason, both when they turned about 9, were like, well, your job's to make me happy. And I was like, I don't know.
Where did they learn it?
Right. I was like, I don't know what job description you read, but that's not my job description. It's to provide you food, clothing, and shelter. And I nailed it. Like, so now my job is actually to help you learn how to cope when you're not happy. So let's practice. And they loved it. And it was really heartwarming. They threw a fit. But there is this idea that like, if my kid's upset, I'm doing something wrong. Versus like, no, of course you're upset that the screen is no longer a choice. Right. Like it's okay to be upset. It's still not a choice.
Have you talked to other families that are on the opposite end of the spectrum that come to you, but they are like so anti-technology that there's other, like kind of you're talking about that pendulum swing. Is it like, do you see that people have taken it too far where it's like they avoid technology completely?
I don't know if I've seen it specifically, but if they're on that side of the pendulum, I don't think that's like taking it too far. I think whatever works for each and individual family. I mean, if you like live on a farm and your kids can be outdoors all day and like that is not your priority, that is great. I think parents sometimes worry, well, my kid then can't keep up with current society and technological advances, but it changes so quickly and their brains are growing and adapting so quickly. You don't have to worry about like they're going to get left behind.
Right.
Because kids catch on very quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you have to worry about like, oh, my kid's not up to date on the current blah, 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 because it's going to change. I mean, even professions are changing, right?
Right. Yeah. Especially now with AI and everything coming into it, it's completely changing. So you have older kids now. How are they? I mean, because you said they're college age. Are they still in college?
One's graduating, but with the statistics major and at least not computer science, which I have a lot of friends, kids like with that. And it's hard getting jobs currently because of, AI and taking over and trying to find their path is like hard.
Right.
Yeah. Like the middle one, she's got her path. She knows what she's doing. She wants to do pre-med, so that's not going to be impacted yet. Right. Right. But for him, he's now trying to adapt it to, okay, how does that going to look in the future? And what do I want to work with people and what does that look like? And
that's so interesting. Like that's so far from my realm right now. But it just goes to show how this technology impacts every single stage of development.
Yes. Because you have this, like, your stage that you're in, you're thinking about that, right? Like you're like, okay, how are we going to be intentional and mindful about our technology use? And then they get into, primary grade school, and then it's how are the other families that we're interacting with using it? And then that middle school, high school, it's really hard. And it's hard because, especially middle school, high school, if you say you can't have this app or you can't do this, like they're resourceful. Yeah. They find ways. I mean, but every generation did.
Every generation did, yeah.
They told us we couldn't pass notes, so we made notebooks.
Right.
And then I'd have a notebook with like Ashley and Kerry's notebook. And then we'd pass notebooks, and that was our loophole. Right. We're not passing notes, we're passing notebooks. Yeah. And one parent told me that their kid got in trouble for passing notes technically in Google Docs. I'm like, that's so brilliant.
I know. That's one of our coworkers has some her kids are between like 5th grade and her oldest just started college. And that's what she was saying. They like pass notes in Google Docs basically.
Which so smart.
Yeah. It's
like that's their way, but that's what their brains are designed to do is to find new ways of thinking and doing things. And I feel like this generation's going to be the ones that are going to have to solve the technology because as a parent, I'm trying to step in, but part of it is it's not my experience. I have no context for what their life experience is like. Again, we talked about our phones were connected to the wall. So how can I relate to not having the current iPhone and being on social media?
Right.
But we can't 100% put it on them. We have to have the boundaries as the parents and step in and be there, as I always say, like their prefrontal cortex, which they don't have fully online until about 25-ish.
So talk a little bit more about that development of the prefrontal cortex, because I do think, especially at Time Timer with the analog timer that we have, the very visual timer, that is typically executive functioning skills are very high topic for us. So talk to me a little bit about like what you've seen in terms of how technology has affected that prefrontal cortex and like how maybe going analog may or may not help with that.
Yeah. So I think, I'll back up a little bit. The prefrontal cortex, so they say in the brain research they've done that the first thing that develops in your brain is like, back in the kind of nape of your neck area, which is like the limbic system and the amygdala, the stress response and emotional part of your brain. And the last thing to get fully developed is that like frontal lobe, that executive functioning, prefrontal cortex, the rational, reasonable, self-regulation, emotional regulation. I call it thinking part of the brain.
Right.
Like our kids have it. It's just not fully online. So even my older kids, there were times I wanted to say like, what were you thinking? But I can't because they weren't. As my daughter one time did say, Mom, my prefrontal cortex is not fully developed.
You're bringing work home when she can repeat it back to you.
It's like when I like tried to like get my daughter, I was like, I'm going to get your booty. She's like, I did not consent to that. I have free reign.
You don't know if it's like, you don't know if you're proud in that moment or just so mad.
And I am, but also like, come on.
Yeah.
I grew that booty. Like,
exactly.
But it is, I'm always proud, but also like, okay, even though your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, you still have a consequence.
Yeah.
Like, because you made a choice, right? And you need to learn that your choices have consequences. But back to like, that's hard because also as that's growing and developing, like that middle school, high school years, it's where addictions start.
Right.
And so having that balance where you're off screens and off technology, that analog, like I think technology can be an aid to all of us, right? Like there are some apps that are great, but it shouldn't be your only way to function.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to be able to do things with your hands. You need to be able to do things off of technology for your brain to grow in those regions. Like what you use, you don't lose.
Right.
Like at least I learned, I think this is still the same, but like in language development, it's like we're all born with the capacity to learn every language. It's what you hear on the regular, that pathway gets used. And so that's the one that sticks. But like my pathway for Chinese didn't get developed. And so now it's like harder to access.
Right.
And definitely now, but like as a kid, whatever you hear and are exposed to helps to keep that part of your brain growing and going. And so I think it's the same thing for off of technology. And again, going back to what are they missing out on?
Right.
And it's in-person interaction. Like they even showed, I think it was the anxious generation, that even adults like our in-person went down, like time spent in person with other people this was pre-COVID, has decreased dramatically.
And then after COVID, it's probably worse.
Exactly. Yeah. Like because it's easier to do things not in person.
Right.
Like I let my son and now my youngest do video games because they were interacting with their peers. But it is, I had to keep up with we got to strike the balance.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. So you mentioned earlier about the technology in schools and how that they've seen that actually slow learning. Are you familiar with, I think most of your work's probably on the family side, but you said Beech Acres does work with schools. So have you seen kind of what are schools doing to counteract this?
So the first step they've done is take away phones in the state of Ohio, at least. So So some school districts have it where you have to keep it in your locker. That's what my youngest has at middle school. But that was before the law came in. I think it started in January of this year.
Did it? Okay.
But most schools implemented it in August just because let's just
School year.
Yeah. And other schools have like if you've ever gone to like a concert or something where you put it in a bag and they seal it. So you still have your phone, but you can't access it.
Okay.
Of course, some kids are going to find the loophole.
Right. Yeah.
But overall, what they're doing is cutting down because that phone time, essentially. Because they were noticing at recess or at lunch, kids were like on their device.
They're not interacting in person like what you're just talking about.
Right. And we did a podcast talking about like a lot of the parents were like, well, my kid has anxiety. What are they going to do? And it's like, okay, so if we went back to analog, what would they have done if they didn't have a phone?
Right.
And they can go in the library and read, or like we act like there's no other options, but there are. But I think a lot of it is technology's made the teachers' lives easier, which I'm 100% on board for because they are hardest job ever. But again, like how to balance it with my kid's on a screen all day long and then they come home and she's like, I just want to chill and watch screens.
Right.
But I don't know. I think schools are trying to shift, but it's hard because that's slow moving when you talk about the education system and funding and all of that. When you have like, okay, I can do this and I can grade it easier if everybody's on the device or, in college, they can turn their papers in up until midnight on the, day of the test or, whatever it is. I think it's created a lot of ease in some aspects, but again, it's getting overused.
And what's the trade-off?
Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. What's the trade-off? What are we losing out on?
Right. And then so you talked a little bit earlier about like the length of focus too.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about how technology affects how long people can focus.
Yeah. So I don't know if you experience this. I do, even with I think my brain's fully developed. I hope so. But like because with ADHD, you are delayed a little bit on the prefrontal cortex development, but you get stuck and then I'll be like, oh, this person's taking too long to get to their point. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's insane that I can't even watch this for a minute. But kids, it's even more impactful. So if you look at this generation, and I can state this for my youngest too, like she doesn't want to watch a movie. And she claims, well, it's just because there's no, like she's trying to, because she knows my concern as to, like we thought movie night was fun and like a big special treat.
Right.
And my older kids are like, yay, movie night. And she's like, I don't want to watch a whole movie. But then,
it's too long.
Yes. Which I'm like, that's crazy that you think a movie's too long. But then like recently we watched like 3 episodes of the Percy Jackson. I was like, well, that's like a movie.
Right. But it's like, but it's feeding it to you, right? Like, it's like, it's almost like you don't feel like you're as committed because you just wait to commit until that next episode starts auto playing.
Yeah. So the teachers are showing that like they're not able to stay on task as long, even without ADHD. Like they're not able to they're expecting, again, going back to all the short reels.
Right.
It's like that is how their brain is learning to take in information in short little sound bites, essentially.
So I'm gonna take this a little personal again. So when we limit our screen time for a 3.5-year-old, we tend to limit it in like 5-10 minute increments. Is that not? Am I not just feeding the problem? Am I feeding the problem?
Wait, what do you mean? When you limit it, you only let him have it for 5 minutes? I mean, it depends on what he does because the AAP did change. This was during COVID, at least.
Yeah,
it's not quantity; it's quality.
Okay.
So if he's just watching something mindlessly that's not teaching him anything, like I will forever thank the Wonder Pets for teaching my kids about teamwork.
Yeah.
So when they wouldn't get in their car seat and strap their car seat, I'd be like, what's gonna work? And they'd go, teamwork.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And I was like, teamwork makes the dream work. You do the top and I do the bottom. Like, but so there's, I don't know how much they learned from the Wonder Pets.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know what the Wonder Pets is.
No, I mean, in our household, it's Paw Patrol right now, and it's driving me a little crazy.
Yeah, we had that. I remember one time I would teach her. So speaking of like the timer piece, I would also say like it's as long as whatever show.
Yeah, That's what we've done that before too. Like especially if it's a shorter show, we just set the timer for the length of that show, and then
Yeah. And then they'd be like, and then she was like, is it like the 2-in-1 Paw Patrol? And I was like, I don't know. It was the middle of the night. I'm like, it's not time to wake up. She's like, how much longer? And I'd be like, 2 movies, go to bed. And I was like, it's as long as, and then the Paw Patrol was like the 2-in-1 or the 1. I'm like, can't do math.
Right. Yeah.
Middle of the night. But it's showing them, because parents often think that like, if I didn't use a visual cue for the transition, like I personally taught my son that 5 minutes is 30 minutes, because I would say 5 more minutes.
And you needed 30 minutes.
And I got distracted. And so one time he goes, that was only 5 minutes. And I was like, no, it wasn't. It was like half an hour. And I'm like, oh, that's on me.
Yeah.
I would say 5 more minutes and he would be 30 minutes. And he's like, 5 minutes is 30 minutes. So I was like, you have to be careful with what you teach. And if you don't have a visual for them to actually see, because parents are like, well, I set the timer on Alexa or on, what Siri or whatever, but it's not
visual. They don't see it.
Right. And then they're not, they assume they understand the concept of time.
Right.
And they don't.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot that parents assume kids understand that they don't. So it's like, why would they know? Again, I literally taught my son that 5 minutes is 30 minutes.
Right.
He did outgrow that. So
so it is repairable. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do say that a lot with our visual timers, is that it holds everyone accountable, not just your kid.
Exactly.
If you're going to say 5 more minutes, you better actually mean 5 minutes, because they will know what that means after they use those timers. So
yeah, my kids would be like, oh, she's doing the mom chat. Go.
Yeah. Right.
We got her.
Yeah.
She's distracted. We can keep playing.
But I mean, you also bring up a good point about the whole analog thing, because I mean, obviously the visual timers are very analog and they make time very tangible, but it's not just about the visual timer, but like you said, like they start to know how long a song is or how long a show is. It's like, it's really making like everything in life tangible.
Like making those connections.
Right. And so it is very, very physical. I think somebody once described our timers as like the physicality of it was what made it so effective. And I think that can be put into so many different areas of life. And
yeah, like if you ever notice, I always joke that I had a time sucker in my kitchen that I would be like, oh, we've got plenty of time before school. And then I'm like, oh my God. So I always tell parents, your kids feed off your energy. So if you're stressed, it's going to cause them to be stressed and they shut down. But it's the same thing. Like it can pass without you recognizing it if you're doing other things.
Right. And as a parent, you're probably doing 6 other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like my son, 22-year-old was like, you should check out the Screens In thing where you put on like restrictions on your apps.
Yeah.
And I did it for my social media, and I'll be like, okay, I get 10 minutes on Instagram, and all of a sudden it turns off and I'm like, that was 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was 2 minutes.
Right. So it isn't like, and I don't have actually it has like something similar where it's like counting down for me, but it's not in my vision. And so I completely lose all track of time.
Right.
So yeah, accountability is important for parents too. And having that visual is huge.
And when we talk about going analog with our kids, it's really also forcing ourselves to be a little bit analog too. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Cause I've had parents who recognized that, okay, we don't let our kids have technology at the dinner table, but then they do.
Yeah.
And your kids do what you do, not what you say. Like, right. Like they're going to model you and recognize so I've even said, if you notice, I'm trying to be intentional about not being on my screens. And if you notice me, let me know.
Right.
But there are ways that we use screens to engage and connect at the same time. But I'm like, okay, now let's do a screen break. Time to be mindful and let's do a screen break. And my daughter's like, okay, what are we going to do? But then I'm like, now it's on me to entertain you.
Right. How about you say what we're going to do?
Exactly. But what your kid's age is so important for that free play, where that creativity comes out, just that ability to get lost. And parents think play is frivolous, but it's so important. It's their natural communication.
Right.
So if you're ever concerned about anything, if you're why is, I tell parents, if they're not pooping on the potty, I'm do some play with them and talk about oh, my doll doesn't want to poop on the potty. I wonder why. And you get so much information through play because they communicate through play, but they learn through play.
Yeah.
And even back in the 90s, an undergrad, I student taught kindergarten, and parents were wanting to see more worksheets and paper. And we're like, no, it's play-based. They are learning. It looks frivolous, but it's so important.
Right.
And so giving them that ability And then if you're like, it's the end of the day and you're fried and you're like, okay, we're going to watch a show so that you get a break, that's okay too. Like that's where I say in like finding that balance and realizing, you know, for the developmental stage your kid's in, the trade-off of not playing is not like acceptable, right? Like you would be like, no, you have to be able to do this to, you know, or if you would say like, nobody would ever say, okay, a trade-off of not eating is okay for the screens.
Right.
So it's like thinking in terms of like the basic needs. And one of the basic needs for kids is play.
I think that's such an important point to make. Like that is a great analogy to say, like you want to trade off the eating, but still don't trade off the play.
Yeah. Play and free, like unscheduled, unstructured time. Like they're showing now too how overstructured kids are today. And it's really hard to fight that like wave.
Right.
So, but it is, like I always said, achievement and being the best wasn't one of our values. So we're not raising any Olympians. But I don't judge anybody. Like obviously we had the Olympics and it's amazing and I celebrate those families and that's where they chose to put their energy.
Right.
But like we from a young age intentionally chose not to get on that track. But I have friends who are on like the select sport track.
Right.
So I was just like, I just don't want my whole weekend to be with sports. But if that is, some people get energy from it and they thrive and their kids love it and it's amazing and it's a great way to bond as a family. And I love that for them.
Yeah. I think the big takeaway here is not just about like managing the digital time as a family, but you just keep coming back to, and I think it's so important, it's just like defining your values as a family. Because if you can define your values as a family, you can manage the digital aspect of this world, right? Like,
yes, because you can say like, does this app meet our family values?
Right, exactly.
And I like with technology, with social media, with my middle, I was like, here are my concerns. Like curiosity first of like, why do you want Instagram or whatever it is to connect with my friends, so I'm not left out. Like all the pieces that were important to her. And I'm like, here's what's important to me is your mental health and just for you to be healthy overall. And I know that most people, when they get off like social media, they feel worse about themselves. And so that is my concern, and like how you curate your feed and your algorithm and all that stuff. So I remember her senior year, she said, my algorithm is now to where when I get off, I don't feel worse. I feel fine. Like so she was doing her own check-ins. Yeah. So, but then it of course, eventually kind of, I'm like, you got to do those check-ins to make sure you're not shifting back the other way, because it can change. Like you interact with one reel or whatever. So that's where my son got on the screens end for himself, because he was like, I was just mindlessly scrolling and it wasn't healthy. And because I can come in and have all these strict boundaries. But I knew like their senior year, they were able to take their device in their bedroom, because I was like, I'm not going to college with you and asking if you put your phone in the lobby. Right. Like you need to learn how to handle this. But I'm here as guardrails. We're here as your parents as guardrails, but their guardrails are very different than your kids' guardrails, which are like very this, right?
Yeah, very tight.
Are you getting close to that 18-month-old stage? Oh, are you?
No. Yeah, my youngest is about to turn 18 months in a month or two.
That's the stage where you're like, my friend said to me when our oldest were that age, like, are they ever going to listen to us?
But I'm like, I feel like I've got two phases, and they're both of not listening and running everywhere.
Yeah. You need to start
It's like on one kid, I have to be a helicopter parent of, because he's young enough, I have to. And then the other one is he just, either wants our attention all the time, but doesn't want to listen. Right. So it's like,
yes. That is like,
I'm in a losing situation 99.5% of the time in my house.
And then you're like, how are these tiny humans in charge of our house?
Yes, exactly.
And I was like, I studied children forever. Their dad was, when I had the first, was a pediatric resident. And it was like, we both were like, this is hard.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And I think you bring up another good point that we were kind of talking about earlier, is like, parenting's hard these days. So,
it is. And you might feel really capable in your career and in your job. And then you go home and you're like, this tiny little human is somehow like running this household.
Right. And you don't, like, for me, it's like a lot of times I'm very confident in my job, and then I go home and I how can I not do this? Like, this seems like I should be able to do this. This, like, people have done this for generations.
Right.
But then my confidence level is just not there.
Right. And that's because, did you get a master's degree in child development?
No, I did not.
And I did. And I'm still like, one of my good friends that I met, and she was just like, what is this? And I was like, it's a tantrum. She's like, I have never been treated like this ever in my life. If I was dating her, I would have broken up with her by now.
I like that. Yeah, that was me and my son this morning.
Yeah. Now that girl's 22 and a highly capable, amazing young woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then we were just like, we would get together and I'm like, I understand it, but it didn't make it easier. It just made it more like, okay, I know. And not that what you're supposed to do, but I understood what the child was communicating at least. But it still didn't mean that I didn't carry a frustrated kid screaming out of a location because they didn't want to leave. Or whatever it is, like transitions can be super hard. And so if I forgot to give him a heads up, or I remember my youngest in the middle of the parking lot of the swim club screaming, and my friend's like, do you want me to help you? I'm like, no, it's my fault. Like I set her up for failure and she hasn't eaten in forever. They blew the whistle and we had to leave, and like so many things she couldn't control. And I hadn't seen her for like 2 hours. Like, she's done.
Yeah.
And I have to recognize in myself, like as a mom, like she's melting down because the circumstances, the situation, that I didn't help at all. So then I had more patience and empathy at that point in time.
And that's the hard part, is you don't always have the foresight. Like you might recognize it on the back end of it. Like, I should have told him this, or I should have set this up. Like, because you hit on a really important point and a very strong sweet spot for time timer products in general, is just that transition phase, because it does, again, it helps those kids know what's coming next. But yeah, it's just very, you get through it. And someone who works at time timer, I have about like 30 time timer visual timers in my house. So I use them all the time with my kids, and I'll still realize a time that I should have used one when I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not.
But that's the learning right there. 'Cause you're not, you said later in retrospect we have it, but I learned so much from those. And then the next time I was prepared. Right. Like the next time we were at the pool, I had everything in place so that we would successfully leave the pool. Like when I drove through and did this car drop off in preschool that I'd never done in her entire life, and just thought she'd like happily pop out of the car. Yeah. And instead she screamed and ran to the back of the van. And I was like, go to the next car. It's on me. But then the next day I was all on it and prepping her and talking about when the door opens and Miss Amanda comes in, because I should have known better, but I didn't tell her. And from a 4-year-old's perspective, the van door opens and her teacher's reaching in when normally her mom gets her or dad gets her out of the car and walks her in. Like, that would be weird. Yeah. And I would melt down too.
I mean, it's one of the very, very early supporters of Time Timer wrote this essay, and you can find it on our website, but it talks about how, like, imagine being like on a different planet where they speak a different language, and they tell you have this much time to do something. You have X amount of time to do something. You have no idea what X means. Exactly. And you have to do it. And you have no idea if it's long, if it's short. And like, this is how people live every day who experience time blindness, but it's also how a 4-year-old lives or a 3-year-old lives, because they don't know what to expect. They're new. Everything's new to them. Yes. So it's like, you can't, as an adult, you can't imagine being in that situation where someone's telling you to do something and you have no idea what they're actually saying. Yes. But that's what they do every single day.
Yeah. And we use language as if they understand it in a way. Or I worked with a pediatrician who said, I keep telling him he can't climb on the counter, and he keeps doing it. And I'm like, because he can, he's capable. Right. And he's like, no, Mom, you're wrong. I can climb on the counter. Look how good I am at it. And like, it's how you say it. Right. Like, oh, feet on the ground, counters aren't for climbing on. You can climb on this. But the same thing of like visual, back to that of my, like I always tell parents to get like visuals, like also schedules, like pictures especially when they're young. And to a degree, I still have it on my fridge where my kids have, like, I have to write out the schedule because they're like, well, is this weekend that? Like, everyone needs a visual reminder. So young kids, I do, like back in the day before Pinterest and Amazon, I did it like on clip art where I had pictures of like, here's your morning routine, here's your evening routine. Did you brush your teeth? Did you, you know? And they got to choose what order they did it in, but it was visual. And so I remember working with a family at the beginning of COVID, and they both were home with a 2-year-old. And the 2-year-old was like melting down when Mom was in a meeting, and then melting down. And so I'm like, you need to map out her day.
Yeah.
And mapping it out. And like, again, if they would have had the timer, that would have been super helpful. Because mapping it out, like I say, it's like Dora. She had a map, but it was basically her schedule.
Right.
And visually. And so they sent me a picture, and on a piece of notebook paper, they had stick figures, and they'd be like, this is daddy time when mommy's in her meeting. This is mommy, like they had it like, this is lunch. This is.
And so she knew exactly what was coming
next. And so many parents
after.
afterwards are like, yes, I finally just drew it out. And the kid's like, oh, after we drop off daddy and then go to the store, then we can go. And they're like, yes. But they kept saying it, and the kid's screaming, and then they drew it out, and the kid's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, same thing. If like 5 more minutes, they're like,
that means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told my kids, all our babysitters when he was 4, went to college, as if he knew what college was. And then he said, when you die, you don't come back, right? And I'm like, right? And he goes, what about when you go to college? I was like, oh God.
That is awful.
It is. Thankfully, he went to college. So it didn't scar him too bad. But I should have known better.
Right.
Again, there's a lot I should have known better, and I screwed up, which is why I always say there's no perfect parenting.
Right.
And it's not what you do, it's what you do after what you did. So the piece after of like, if you recognize that, oh wait, this didn't work because of whatever reason, then you go back and you improve for the next time.
Yeah.
And you learn about your kids that way too. Like
what they need to hear from you.
Yeah. Like my middle one, like you could be like, we're going to the dentist, and she's like, whatever. But my youngest, I thought just by watching her brother and sister, it would be fine, because my middle one wanted to do the dentist before even I was like age-wise going to do it, because her brother was doing it. And she just popped in the chair. My youngest, they were like, did the older 2, and then like, okay, it's your turn. And she screamed and ran out of the room. And I was like, we'll see you in 6 months.
Right.
Like, I'm not forcing her to do it. I'm not going to make her sit and, like, it's not that important. But then the next time we watched videos, and then she thought her dentist was British because it was a British person.
That's so funny.
Like, yeah, but I prepared for it for the next time, and then it was successful. And I'm like, you're going to sit in the chair. Do you want to sit with mommy or sit by yourself?
Right.
And like, and then it was fine. So like, but it was very humbling when she screamed and ran.
Yeah. Well, I think that like, I want to kind of wrap up, but because I think that's a good point to wrap up on, is just kind of acknowledging that like parenting is going to change, and you're going to learn as you go. Right. Like it's constant. But I think we've talked through a lot of good stuff, like the values and just how analog can help and how digital can be controlled, like to whatever works along with your values. I think I really appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with in terms of like where they can find resources, where they can find Beech Acres, like what kind of
if they want to go to our website, it's Beech Acres, but it's like the tree, BEECH acres.org. We have tons of resources on there. We even have like our natural strength parenting starter kit, which does list the values. Like, there's a lot, but I say like pick your top 5. Because I mean, I have some that kind of ebb and flow. Like I like travel, but it's not a top 5. But there's families who buy a boat and sail the world and homeschool. It's top 5. So, but it's identifying you with your co-parent. Like, what is important to us? If we imagine our 80th birthday party and our kids are talking about being raised by us, what do you want them to say? And then it also recognizes like, what are your kids' strengths? What are your strengths as a parent? So if your strength is, if you're like me and you get distracted easily, like that's where the timer comes in handy. Keeping you, again, teaching my kid that 5 minutes is 30 minutes.
And teaching yourself at the same time.
And then that analog piece of like, being mindful of how technology is impacting your family dynamic. Are you getting that one-on-one, like that time? Do you have intentional time during the week that you do not, nobody's on screens?
Right.
What are you modeling? Because I think that's huge. Because if you're like on your screen and your kid comes up to you and then you get annoyed, like it's just a learned behavior. But one thing I heard and I thought was really profound was like rules without relationship equals rebellion. So when you're trying to find that balance, connect with your kid, get curious about their need for the technology or interest, or because we don't know. I'm an immigrant. They're native, you know. And then collaborate on a plan. Like, what is the plan that works best for us? Like my youngest at 10 said, now that I'm 10, I can stay up till 10. I was like, that's not how it works.
No.
But But then when she was like 12, we negotiated 9:31.
Oh, that's so
But then
funny.
she was cooperative.
Yeah.
And she was like, would come up because I was like 8. She's like 10. I was like, do I hear 8:30? Do I hear no? I'm just kidding. But some parents are like, I'm not here to negotiate. I'm like, but I'm here to give them input.
Right.
And respect their needs so that when it's something that is a strong no, then they trust me and know that it's a strong no for now or whatever it is. Like one thing I think I was going to say earlier, I didn't, is like, instead of saying no, you can't have a phone. No, you can't have this. No, you can't have this app or game or whatever. It's, that's something you can have when.
Right. That makes sense.
When can I have a phone? When you can show me, because I wish there was a driver's license and like an age and like they had to take a test. But in your family, you can have that. So when you can show me that you're responsible with your items, that you're able to get off your screens when I ask you to, that like you set it up as these are the expectations, and you know, go from there. Like those expectations again, tie back to like what you said about the values. And then they can, you know, understand that, okay, you can play this video game when you show me blah, 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 blah. So when my daughter wouldn't get off her screens, I'm like, you're showing me that you don't have a healthy relationship with your screens. And then the next day I see her like get off and go play basketball or, you know, go unload the dishwasher without being asked. Like, show me you can be responsible in other areas of your life too.
And that goes back to, it also holds you accountable that if you say, meet this criteria and they do, then you have to follow through.
Yeah. Like in the summer, I was like, okay, you know, working, but here's the expectations of what you have to do. The trade-off piece. And some of it was like playing. Some of it was like being outdoors, you know. They would try to loophole me. Okay, I did physical activity at swim team and I was outside. Does that count for both? If it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm like, sure. But if it was like 10 a.m., I'm like, no.
I think that's our other big takeaway here is that they will find loopholes.
Yes, but that is, and see that as not like defiance, but about the journey.
Yeah.
And like look at the loophole and see that as like creativity as a strength, right? And ability for them to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there was the hard boundary of like asked and answered. It's still not a choice. And but I learned if you can't say it in 10 words or less, don't say it, which as you can tell would be really hard for me.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
With kids though. And so that's where the quick value word, not safe, not healthy, not blank. Like you need to be blank.
Right.
And so with screens, I was like, I want you to be creative. I want you to be competent. I want you to be, you know, learn something, like utilizing those value words.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Well, thank you for being here. I feel like I did feel like I got a little bit of a personal session here with you. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
And I hope our audience finds just as much value in this. I can't imagine that they wouldn't. But I do appreciate you coming in and talking to us for so long and give us such good information. And I hope that like to any of our listeners out there that you guys check out their beechacres.org.
Yes. And we now have an app, a community app, which you can find out about on the website. But also if you want that one-on-one parent coaching, again, I see parents, like some I've seen like they'll come back to me for you know, like, oh, now we're at this stage and we need this support. But for the most part, our goal is to empower you so that moving forward, you don't need us. So a lot of times I meet with parents just like a few times to get them kind of like feel like they're getting off track. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get you back on a track that feels comfortable for you.
Right. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Rethink Time. Don't forget to subscribe and visit timetimer.com for supporting tools and resources. Make every moment count.